I want to take a look at the settings menu in Gmail because that's where we can get to some of the more advanced features and also begin to customize our Gmail experience. So to begin, I'm going to go to the settings menu over here in the top right where the gear cog is. I'm going to come down to settings, and one of the things you'll notice is that I have several labels or tabs here that I can go to. So let's start just with the general settings. I can change language, I can change phone numbers, different things here. I can actually show or choose how many conversations per page, images, these different types of things. I can even change my default text style. Now, conversation view is what I like because what it will do is it will show a running conversation. So if I'm in an email exchange with an individual and we have several emails between us, it will put them together in a conversation mode instead of putting each email that I receive from that person into a separate email. I can show send and archive. This is a really nice feature when I'm in my composed email message. What it does is it allows me to then take and instead of just hitting send, I can send and archive the message so it no longer shows up in my inbox once I push send. I can use different colored stars to mark email messages as important. I can turn on notifications, so if I want, I can turn on my desktop when a new email comes in. This can sometimes be a little bit of a problem if you're in the middle of a presentation and you keep getting notifications that emails come in, so I turn mine off. I can turn on shortcuts, do different things with button labels. I can put a picture of myself in so people will see me. I can show people widgets, so that will help me to see an individual. So if I get an email from somebody, it shows a widget of that person so I can kind of learn more about them. And come down here to create a signature. Now, if I want to, I can click here and I can say, type in my signature here and type in my phone number, and this is what's going to show up on every email that I send, new email that I send. Now, if I want, I can insert it into replies, so then if I reply to somebody, it also shows up. I tend to turn that off because I don't like that showing up. I can do vacation responders, I can turn things on and off and put in a different message. Notice what it will allow me to do if I only send to those people in my contacts. So if I'm on some kind of mailing list, it's not trying to send back to other individuals. And once I get those all set up, I have to hit Save Changes in order for those to apply. So that's the General tab in the Gmail settings. Let's take a look at the next item in the Gmail settings menu. So if I come back to settings, I'm going to click on labels. Now we talked about labels earlier. You notice we have system labels. So these are all labels that Gmail includes. I can show and I can hide these. You notice I'm actually hiding the all mail, the spam, and the trash right now. So if I wanted to show those, I could take and just click on each one of these and it would show that label over here in my list of labels. Categories, these are the categories that show up in my inbox. We'll talk about that in the next tab. Circles, these are all the circles that I have in Google+. So if you have Google+ turned on, your circles will show up here. And then these are all the labels that I've created, and that was in a previous video. I can also create a label in here. So for example, I come over here and create a new label, and that will allow me to start to build my label structure within the settings menu. Notice there's no save piece right here because I have not made any changes, so there's no save. Let's come back to our next piece here. That's inbox. Now inbox is where you get to set up what type of incoming or inbox that you want for your Gmail. Right now mine is set to default. Now what that means is that if I come back to my inbox here, you notice I have these tabs. So I've got a primary, a social, promotions, and forum. I come back to my settings menu and I come back to inbox. You notice that those match these pieces right here. So it actually takes, Gmail's great because it will take and it will say, oh, this belongs to, in the primary, this is a social message because it came from Twitter or Facebook or whatever. Different types of promotions. If you have a lot of promotions or emails from different companies, typically it will put it into this category. Any updates, notice I've turned mine off. and then any forums. So if you belong to any groups or listservs, it typically will throw things in here. So it's just a way of organizing your inbox so it's less cluttered and it's easier to get around in. What the other thing that Gmail does is it will take and it will look at your messages, and based on how you've treated the messages in the past and similar messages, it will either mark that as important or not. So if you see a message that has this marker, what it will mean, or what it will mean is that Gmail has taken and said, yes, you've treated all these messages that are similar to this, and very importantly, you've responded to them almost every time, so we're going to actually label these as important. I can turn that off if it gets too annoying or if it's not doing what I want it to do. And then the last piece here that we can do within the inbox is we can override filters. That means the filters that we set up earlier, we can take and say, don't do this for the important messages. So only those messages that we mark, or Gmail marks as important, will bypass the filters. Again, once I finish that, I can click on Save Changes. I'm just going to turn this off just to show you how that works. Save Changes, and then I go all the way back to my inbox. Let's take a look at a couple of other tabs in the settings menu. We're going to take a look at accounts and then forwarding, and we'll talk about the differences between those two. Now what you notice when I click on accounts is I am right now set up to send mail as jeff@beyondthechalk.net. Now one of the things that I like about Gmail is like I can aggregate all my accounts. So most of you probably have more than one account that you're receiving email on, and sometimes it gets a little confusing. I've got to go check at Yahoo or Hotmail or Outlook and those types of things. So what I like to do is I like to take and I like to check email from all of my accounts right in Gmail. So, and there's two ways to do this now. To check email from my other accounts, this is where I would come in and add a POP3 mail account. So you notice when I click on this, it takes and it starts me through this, and notice it says you may add 5 more of your accounts. So I can actually take and add 5 accounts. The one thing you need to remember is that once you start doing this, you click on Next Steps, you have to have some real important information here in order to get this to work. So what it's going to do is it asks for username, password, and then a POP server. And most of your clients will be able to take and give you that information. Most of you can find it online. And sometimes this takes a little work to do this. But once you get it set up, you have access to that email right inside your Gmail account. There are a couple settings here that you can turn on and off. Leave a copy. So if I don't want that to take that email off of, say, Yahoo, I can leave a copy. So if I go back to Yahoo, all those will be there. I can label that. I can archive it. So this is like a filter. And then once I get all of this information in, it will add that account. So what I have for my other account is I have about 5 or 6, I think, email accounts that I'm checking email from, and it comes right into Gmail. Now the other thing that you can do is you can choose to send email as somebody else. Again, you have to take and you have to add another email address, and it takes and it will take you through the steps similar to the ones before. The nice thing about this is, let's say you have several accounts, and maybe you're running a business, or you want your personal account separate. Well, what I can do once I add another account here is I can click on Send As and change that. So if I don't want it to be coming from Jeff at Beyond the Chalk, maybe I want it to come from Jeff at cruisertech@gmail.com. Well, if I had that email address entered here, that would send as that piece. Now let me show you one other piece. So some of you have multiple Gmail accounts. This is where I like to come. So notice on this account right here, so this is my Beyond the Chalk email address. Because I use cruisertech@gmail.com most often, I am forwarding my Beyond the Chalk email to CruiserTech. So it comes into my Gmail account, and I can see that as a Beyond the Chalk mail message, instead of having to come here for one email, to another account for another email, and so on. I take and I push everything to my CruiserTech. So I have basically 5 or 6 different email accounts coming into this one. That's a real powerful way of taking it again and making that process of looking through your email and Gmail more efficient. We've talked about filters already. I just wanted to show you that in the settings menu, you have access to those filters that you've created. I can take and click on this and delete it or export it if I would like. I can also create a new filter. So one of the neat things about the filters is if you know somebody that has a filter that they're using effectively, what they can do is they can come over here, click on this, export it, and then you have the opportunity then to import that. Some people use filters for lots of different reasons. They have several filters set up. Other folks don't, so that's just a personal choice, but they can help with that moving of information and helping you to become more efficient as you use your Gmail. Let's go through a couple of these other tabs real quickly. The chat item here, I can actually turn chat on and off. You'll notice down in the bottom down here, I have my chat turned on, and so if I wanted to, I could actually create a chat with anybody that I have contacted in my Gmail list here, and that shows up down here on the bottom right. Now, labs are pretty cool. What happens with labs is this is really like an add-on or an extension in Chrome. I can take and enable these labs, and basically it gives me a little bit more functionality. This canned response we'll talk about a little bit later. This is kind of a nice feature. I can also turn auto advance and shortcuts and different things on here as I go through the list. Some of these you may look at and think, I don't really know how I'd use that. Others you might. For example, if I wanted to do a right side chat, so move this chat box here over to this side of my email box, I can do that simply by clicking here, going to the bottom and hitting Save Changes. So that's the labs piece. I can use Gmail offline. Now my understanding is this is going to change, that this is going to be automatic shortly, so this will possibly or probably be no longer be an item in the settings menu. And then the last piece here are themes. So this is where I can come in and I can change the theme of Gmail. We all like that customizable features in a lot of the Google products. If I click and on this, you notice it just changes the look and feel of my Gmail. So I can change that to any color or theme that I like. And you notice down here I can change custom themes, classic themes, and I can even go and find additional themes out on the internet if I like. So that pretty much takes care of the settings menu, and it's your turn to get in and experiment and play just a little bit to find out more about each of those features.